People in Minnesota who want to help another by donating one of their organs, like a kidney or providing bone marrow, have faced uncertainty when it comes to future premiums for life, disability, and long-term care insurance. Governor Tim Walz recently signed into law a bill that prevents insurance companies from discriminating against donors.
This next piece of legislation we're going to sign was the living donor and organ transplant bone marrow donors. These are folks that have advocated to make sure that living donors, bone marrow donors, were not discriminated against in getting insurance or long-term care for their selfless service. Representative Hers, Senator Dietzick, the folks who helped make this piece of legislation possible, but the advocates that you see here, recipients and donors of life-saving treatment. And we were just discussing before we came out here, the selfless humanity that goes into being a donor for someone else is simply kind of the highest form of humanity.
I think this legislation highlights at its core what it means to be Minnesotan. It is how we show up and how we care about each other, how we give of ourselves to support one another. And with these legislators and these advocates removing those barriers so that we can be at the core of who we are, people who are giving of ourselves, are selfless in this act.
This bill is important to me because I have friends who need kidney transplants. So I have been tested. I encourage other people to be tested to see if I'm a match. I wasn't, unfortunately. I've also on the bone marrow list in case somebody needs that. So I just encourage people to do that. And I want to thank all the advocates because this is so important. This saves lives.
This piece of legislation is actually really personal to me. I am somebody who has a kidney disease. I've had one since I was 16 years old, and I know that one day I will need a transplant. And for those who step up to help those who are in need, that we need to make sure that they are protected. I could not have done this work without the National Kidney Foundation and my partners here in Minnesota. This is critical and necessary work, and I really want to thank all of my colleagues in the legislature for making this a bipartisan effort, and that we were able to pass this through with almost unanimously within both the House and the Senate. And so just thank you all for being here and lifting up this piece of very important legislation.
Senator Kari Dietzick was one of the co-authors of the anti-discrimination bill, and she joins me now in the studio. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
About 20 states have enacted anti-insurance discrimination laws to prevent organ and bone marrow donors from being adversely impacted in the life insurance, long-term care, and disability insurance market because of their decision to donate. How did you get involved?
So I get involved because I have friends and family that are impacted by kidney disease and have had to have a bone marrow transplant. So I was kind of aware of a lot of the family concerns and concerns of people that want to donate, want to get tested to donate, but they have a lot of questions. And then I heard more stories about some discrimination. I don't think it was rampant, but I think, again, getting that barrier to get people to donate is so huge that anything we can do to reduce that is helpful. So that's why I got involved.
The state of Virginia passed a similar law earlier this year. A testifier there told a committee that while she was being tested to see if she would be a match for a kidney donation, she was warned that if she were to donate, she would later potentially have difficulties in buying life insurance because having only one kidney is considered a pre-existing condition. Were Minnesota donors having experiences like this, to your knowledge?
I haven't heard a lot of them, but just again, to get that barrier to get people to donate is really a hurdle. And so I think reducing that to reduce their fears of donating, and will I run into health insurance impacts, and then getting you can get health insurance because the Affordable Care Act put in that you can't discriminate there. But there's other insurance, from life insurance to long-term care insurance, that we want to make sure people have that opportunity to donate and still be able to get that life insurance and other insurance going forward.
The new law will prohibit discrimination against donors by companies, like I said, that life insurance, long-term care insurance, disability insurance. What do Minnesotans need to understand about how this law will protect them if they do choose to donate an organ, a kidney, or bone marrow going forward?
Yes, so you can't be discriminated against. So they can't ask on the form when you go to get life insurance. They can't ask on that form, and deny you because you have donated a kidney or donated bone marrow. So I think that's it's a huge help going forward, because again, we want to cut down those barriers so that more people agree to get tested and possibly be donors.
So I think in the bill it said something about actuarial language. That whatever rate is set for the insurance product, it cannot be impacted at all by any kind of donation. So it would be, let's say you did donate an organ, and otherwise you have a clean bill of health, then you need to be offered that rate that any other person who didn't donate would be offered.
Correct. Yes.
And then how would a Minnesotan be able to ensure that they weren't being discriminated against?
I think that is with any good product and any good company, you ask questions. So you need to ask the questions, you need to do the research, and then again, if you get denied, they should tell you why you get denied. And so you want to do that follow-up and ask those questions, because lots of times, especially when we change the laws, like right now, people don't know. And so it is a good opportunity to inform both the company and the people that, yes, you should ask those questions to find out if you were denied, why you were denied, because they can't do that anymore.
And just incidentally, I was talking to somebody in the hall just a few minutes ago, and I mentioned that we were going to talk about this topic, and they had no knowledge that this was even an issue. So we're bringing it to light. According to the nonprofit organization, the American Kidney Fund, there are nationally about 106,000 people who are waiting for an organ transplant. They do a living donor protection report card. And Minnesota now has the grade of a B, in part because of this new law. But what more should be done? What would we have to do to get an A?
I think one good thing would be to offer paid family leave. I think that is helpful. I think a lot of people, and it kind of varies depending on what the procedure is, how much time do you need after the surgery to get and recuperate, and so I think that would be helpful. A lot of companies and a lot of states offer tax credits to the companies to encourage them and to help them, especially small businesses, to help them when an employee goes on leave or needs to take time off to do the donations. And so I think this will help move us forward, but I think paid family leave I think would be a good start to get us closer to that A.
At the bill signing event, you said that you have friends who are in need of organ donation and you were tested but were not a match. You encourage people to consider becoming donors. Do you think this new law will increase the numbers of people who are willing to donate?
I'm really hopeful that it is. There are a number of people that I talk to. I have family members and friends who have kidney disease. One of my friends, good friends from high school, grade school actually, is been on the kidney list for like 2 years. Wait lists up to 5 years are not unheard of. And so, as we were all talking and getting tested to see if we were a match, people had questions just from the basic, can I survive with just one kidney? And then what happens if I get sick, or what happens if I change jobs? Will health insurance impact it? And again, so explaining to people, the Affordable Care Act prohibited health insurances from discriminating against you, and then this bill will provide additional anti-discrimination laws to, again, help ease some of those concerns and address some of those questions that people had. And I really encourage people to get tested. So to find out if I would be a kidney donor, it was just a blood test. To find out, I had another friend who had cancer, and so she needed a bone marrow transplant. And so that was just a cheek swab with a Q-tip. And so, the test to get tested to be a donor is not that hard, but it will save lives. You have about 3,000 people in Minnesota and the Dakotas waiting on that kidney list. And so any little bit will help.
And you mentioned the bone marrow donor. Like, we know that to be a kidney donor would require surgery, and that is a daunting undertaking for sure. But what about bone marrow? Is that as invasive, or is that a simpler procedure?
It in some ways is simpler, but in some ways if it involves a spinal tap, so it kind of depends on exactly what they need. But again, the spinal tap, it is less invasive. It's a lot less invasive than it was years ago, but it's still painful. And so you still need that recovery time. So this will help. And again, maybe getting paid family leave moving forward will also help. And then it'll help get us an A in that rating.
Senator Kari Dietzick, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.